नमस्कार, जय शिवराय मित्रांनो. आज आपण आहोत बृहन्मुंबई महानगरपालिकेचं हेड ऑफिस म्हणजे मुख्यालय. एक मुंबईचं हेरिटेज म्हणून पण ओळखलं जाणारं हे बृहन्मुंबई महानगरपालिकेचं ऑफिस एक्झॅक्टली ब्रिटिश स्टेशनच्या समोर. माझ्या मागे बघत आहात तुम्ही ते ब्रिटिश स्टेशन. सुंदर हेरिटेज आणि ऐतिहासिक असं मुंबई पण जपणारं या जुन्या इमारती वर्षानुवर्ष कित्येक काळापासून उभ्या असलेल्या आणि वेगवेगळे साम्राज्य पाहिलेल्या ह्या इमारती आजही इतिहासाची साक्ष देत उभ्या. मित्रांनो, बृहन्मुंबई महानगरपालिका ही जगातली सर्वात श्रीमंत महानगरपालिका म्हणून तिला ओळखलं जातं आणि कुठल्या एका छोट्या राज्याचं बजेट असावं तितकं हिचं बजेट आहे आणि खूप गडगंज श्रीमंत म्हणून ओळखली जाते महानगरपालिका. त्यामुळे याची जी निवडणूक होती ती अटाताटाची होती. मध्ये प्रत्येक पक्ष आपला जीव प्राणाला लावून ही निवडणूक लढवत असतो, कारण का सर्वात श्रीमंत आणि जगात ओळखली जाणारी अशी महानगरपालिका असल्याकारणाने इथे ती स्वतःमध्येच एक तिचा स्वतःचा इतिहास आहे. त्यामुळे पुऱ्या जगाचं लक्ष इकडे लागून असतं. तर अशी श्रीमंत, गडगंज श्रीमंत अशी महानगरपालिका, त्याचं मुख्यालय माझ्या मागे तुम्ही बघा. हा गेट नंबर 2 आहे आणि गेट नंबर 2 वरूनच एंट्री आहे. ह्याचं आतली जी हेरिटेज टूर आहे ती जर करायची असेल तर खाकी ट्रॅव्हल्स म्हणून आहेत, त्यांच्याकडून ही केली जाते. बुक माय शोला ह्याच्या तिकीट्स मिळतात. तुम्ही तिकीट आणि स्लॉट्स बुक करून येऊ शकता. आणि आता आपण आज जाऊते ती आतून कशी दिसते त्याची उत्सुकता जेवढी तुम्हाला आहे तेवढी मलाही आहे आणि ते सगळं दाखवण्याचा प्रयत्न मी करेन. चला, तुर्तास विराम घेतो आणि मग आज जाऊन मग आपण परत तो ब्लॉग कंटिन्यू करू. तोपर्यंत जय शिवराय.
Okay, now my question to all of you all is, where was Church Gate? Where was the gate? Yeah, go on. Anybody else? Anybody else? Where was? Okay, so there is where Flora Fountain stands today. Okay, was where the second gate of the fort was, which was called as the Church Gate. Okay, and the third gate of the fort was called as the Apollo Gate, right? Which is where your Lion and Muster Gate stands today, is where the gate was, right? So those were the 3 gates. The northern gate was Bazaar Gate, center was Church Gate, this side was Apollo Gate. Now, where you see this orange triangle, right? This orange triangle that we marked on the map is where you're standing right now. Okay? And the area outside the fort, which is now well colored in yellow, was essentially once upon a time a patch of green grass, and that was called as the Esplanade. Okay? Now there are 3 patches of that green grass, the original green grass, which exists even today in the city of Mumbai. Can you name where are those 3 patches? Oval Maidan, in Azad Maidan and Cross Maidan. Okay, these are the 3 original patches of the Esplanade. Now, another very important date you need to keep in mind in the history of the country is 1857. Okay, What happened in 1857?
First war of independence.
Yes, the first war of independence happened in 1857. Unfortunately, India lost that war of independence, right? And just after 1857, in 1862, a gentleman walks into the city of Bombay, okay, as the governor of Bombay presidency. Now, I do this with all my guests. The group before me also, I did this trick. I've been doing this tour for a year and a half. Only one person has got the name of this gentleman right. Anybody here? Attenborough came much later, man.
Why?
No? No? Okay. No, don't worry. I love doing this trick. Because even when I joined Khaki and I started doing tours, I had never heard of this man. Okay, it's unfortunate that, I mean, when we learn our history, we don't really learn too much about this gentleman. His name is Sir Henry Bartle Frere. His name is Sir Henry Bartle Frere. In 1862, he becomes the governor, okay, of Bombay presidency. Now, Sir Henry Bartle Frere was a very unique man, right? Now, he wasn't your typical babu, कि भाई हम आएंगे, 2-3 पेपर साइन करेंगे, हमारा साल हमारा टेन्योर खत्म हो जाएगा, हम चले जाएंगे. Right? That's typically bureaucracy and government officials work like that. He was a very ambitious man, very, very ambitious man. And the governor's bungalow at that time used to be at Parel, where Haskins Institute is right now, is where the governor's bungalow used to be there. And perhaps one afternoon while having his cup of chai, he decided, I need to craft a vision statement for Bombay. And that vision statement was Herbs Prima in English. So when you book this tour today on Book My Show, the tour was titled Herbs Prima. Now, what is Herbs Prima? It's basically a phrase in Latin. It says Premier City in India. So it was his vision, right, to make Bombay the premier city in India. Now, what does he do? The first thing he did was he broke the fort walls. The fort walls came up starting 1750. Now we are in 1862-63 is when he breaks the fort walls and he starts developing the area outside the fort wall, which is the Esplanade, right? So buildings like the Bombay High Court, Rajabai Tower, Mumbai University, CST, this particular building, they all came up after Henry Bartle Frere broke the fort wall and started developing the Esplanade. So, if I tell you, where is New Bombay today? What is New Bombay for you?
Vashi. Panvel.
Panvel, Belapur is New Bombay for you today, right? But ladies and gentlemen, if you are in 1880, you're standing in New Bombay.
New Bombay. You're right.
Okay, this is New Bombay. Now I'll explain to you how. So if you look at the fort area and you walk inside the fort, walk at Bazaar Gate, for example, the roads are very, very narrow. The buildings are jagged. There's hardly any planning that's actually happened in the fort itself. But stand at Flora Fountain and look at the other side, where HSBC is there or where the Bombay University or the Bombay High Court is there. Look at this road that goes right up DN Road, right up to Flora Fountain, right? The roads are much broader. The buildings on this side are far better planned. They're aligned in a straight line. The buildings on the left-hand side are all very jagged, right? You struggle to say where you draw the straight line. So if you are in the 1880s, you are standing absolutely in New Bombay. Okay? Now, we're going to continue this conversation at the selfie point over there. We'll talk a little bit about this particular building and the history and the stories behind that. So come along. In 1849, when the British Parliament passed the Act to start the Great Indian Peninsula Railway, right? Now, this company very rapidly became a very large conglomerate. So just how you have maybe a Hindustan Lever or a PNG, right? the GIPR became a very large company, and the company stakeholders then said that the company now needed a headquarters, right? And that's when this building comes up, which is now called as the CST station, but at that time was called as Victoria Terminus, right? 1888 is when it started, was called as Victoria Terminus. And why was it called Victoria Terminus? Is because 1888 Queen Victoria completed 50 years of her reign. It was her golden jubilee, right? So as mark of honor, they called it the Victoria Terminus. Now the architect of this building is a person called F.W. Stevens, the master architect of our time, of that time. Now when F.W. Stevens was constructing this building and designing this building, the building had a traditional Gothic style of architecture, right? But he was also aware that he was building this building in the city of Bombay in India. So he does incorporate a lot of Indian elements into the design of this building. Now, if you see the ground floor, just go up on the first floor, there's a window over there on the right hand side of the balcony, right? And you see this very beautiful peacock jali, right? Now there are, do you see that? The ground floor? The first floor, you see the first floor balcony? Right on the right hand side above the window. There's a peacock jali over there, and there are lots of such motifs that you will see on the facade of this building, which are Indian elements. Right? Now here's a quiz question for all of y'all. Where is GIPR written on this building? GIPR, Great Indian Peninsula Railway. Where is GIPR? Right, absolutely correct. Those two lines on top, can you see? On the top floor balcony near the circular window, right? They are holding a shield and it says GIPR. Look very carefully. Right on top, on the third floor balcony. Where is it written? Okay. If you see the circular window, the balcony, the two lions, you're holding a shield. Yeah? Okay, I'll get you a little closer. Look at the 5 arcs on the ground floor. Can you see the 5 arcs on the ground floor? Yeah. Right? And look at the extreme left and the extreme right. There's a round circle over there which has a symbol. And that says GIPR. Right? So here's a testimony that this was actually the headquarters of GIPR, which is the Great Indian Peninsula Railway Company. Right? There are two very distinct styles of architecture. One is your typical Gothic style of architecture. So look at the Rajabai Towers, the Mumbai University, the High Court. And the second style of architecture is called as the Indo-Saracenic style of architecture. What is Indo-Saracenic? Indo is for Indian, Saracenic is for Islamic. Now another very important architect of that time was George Whittet. Okay? Now look at the buildings that he made. The Gateway of India, the Prince of Wales Museum, the General Post Office. The architectural style is very Indo-Saracenic. You see, look at the domes on top, they're very circular, right? Now, this building is very unique. I'll tell you the uniqueness of this building. Okay, look at the ground floor. And you will see conical structures on the ground. Come this side, man. Come, you can see more carefully. Come here. If you look at the ground floor, you will see conical structures like turrets, right? What you would see typically in a castle in England, right? But now when you go up and you look at the domes become very circular and Indo-Saracenic style of architecture. So this is perhaps the only building in Bombay or in Mumbai which has a transitional style of architecture, right? It's got the Gothic style on a few stories, then as you go up, the style changes to make it Indo-Saracen. Right? We will also talk a little bit about the gentleman we see over here and why does Firoz Shah Mehta find a place and a statue here outside the BMC. You've heard of Firoz Shah Mehta, right? A prominent citizen of the city at that point in time. He was a barrister, philanthropist, okay, called the Lion of Bombay at one point. Now, he has he has lots of contributions to the city, but he has two very specific contributions to the BMC itself. Now, in the earlier avatar, like today when we have council members in the BMC, these are members who are elected by us. Right? There's an election which is impending now in a couple of months' time. God knows what will happen over there, but anyway, that's another story. That's another story. We won't talk about that. So, today we elect our council members. But at that point in time, that rule did not exist. You could be nominated as a council member based on your amount of tax you paid, how rich you are, so on and so forth, and you become a council member permanently. Okay, it's a permanent seat you occupy. But it was Firoz Shah Mehta who then said that, well, if the council members are going to represent the citizens of the city, they should be elected by the citizens of the city. So it was his law which got about us giving us the right to elect our representatives, right? Otherwise, I mean, if the old law stayed, perhaps Mukesh Ambani and Shah Rukh Khan were council members, and they would have been governing the city over here at this time. The second very important contribution that Firoz Shah Mehta makes to the city is that he is the architect of the BMC Act. So just like Baba Saheb Ambedkar is the author of the Indian Constitution, the BMC Act is authored by Sir Firoz Shah Mehta, and that Act is in existence and in use even today, with some amendments, of course, to keep pace with time, but the Act is currently even used today. Now, just to give you a sense of how loved he was as a citizen of the city, this statue comes up in 1923, and today we talk about crowdfunding as a very common term which we all of us are aware of, but the citizens of the city collected money. 88,000 rupees was collected. The statue was sculpted in England, imported from England, got over here and placed up over here, purely by the citizens of the city for their love for Sir Firoz Shah Mehta. Okay, now we are going to enter this building.